Complete Arabic A to Z. Part 1. Why you don't learn Arabic. This is a brand new series dealing with the mastery and a grasping of the complete basics of the Arabic language. And before I actually go into the series, which I assume will be around about 100 parts, I'll go over some of the reasons why you are unable to learn Arabic with the current methods that you've attempted. The first is you have to consider, how is it that children acquire language? A child hears words, phrases, terms, alphabet, letters, even tones, and they hear them repeated over and over again. They hear them from many different sources, from their peers, they hear them from elders, they hear them from young children. So they are overwhelmed with vocabulary. And as they develop, they start practicing that vocabulary. At no time does the child actually consider, am I saying this correctly? Is this the right way to say this particular phrase? They are overwhelmed with vocabulary and they pick their own vocabulary, and then they realize that, okay, certain things work and certain phrases do fit together and I am understood and I can communicate. Later on, they start seeing letters and they start seeing words and they start seeing sentences on a written page, or maybe on a billboard, or perhaps they see it on their toys, and they absorb these letters. So that's how a child learns how to acquire and use language. And then they communicate that language to others. So this is something that defines them as being uniquely human, in that they have audio-visual communication. Not to say that other species don't have communication. Famously, ants which have chemical communication, but that's a different story. So how language, and Arabic specifically, is taught online is not in this natural form. How it's taught is that people bombard you and overwhelm you with grammar rules. So mudaf, mudaf ilay, marfu, mansub, majroor, fi'l, af'al. They give you all these terms and all these phrases that you never ever use in standard day-to-day communication. It's not an overwhelming with vocabulary, but it's an overwhelming with grammar. And so an individual wades into the grammar, and then after 2-3 years, they still can't read, understand, communicate in Arabic. It's happened, I'd say hundreds of thousands of times. And the person becomes frustrated and they stop learning altogether. Why? Because they weren't taught in a natural way. Think about how you learned to walk. You first grabbed onto a chair and you pulled yourself up. And even before you could pull yourself up, you mastered crawling. You mastered the ability to be able to sit up. Even before that, you mastered the ability to be able to hold your head up straight without it bowing down. So you managed to sit up straight, then you managed to crawl with dexterity, then you actually started to pull yourself onto furniture and onto bits of furniture that surround you. So you sequentially built up your strength and your ability, and you didn't quit. You carried on doing it and you were consistent. You didn't think as a child or as a toddler that, okay, I can't pull myself up onto this chair, and I can't transition myself from the chair to the sofa, to the television stand, to the bookshelf. You consistently carried on trying to pull yourself up. You wanted to achieve that. So that's the next thing. You have to want to be able to do this thing. And the first thing is being able to be taught in a natural way, but you have to want to be able to pull yourself up. So regardless of what language you're coming from, whether you're a natural native English speaker, Urdu, Persian, Polish, Russian, Spanish, German, whatever language you come from, you learned that language by being consistent in your practice of it. You wanted to learn that language. You saw the need to learn that language. So that comes down to your intention. How badly do you want to learn this language? 3, there is a prolixity, there is an excess of teachers, resources, audio, written, video material all over the internet. In fact, there are absolutely fantastic sources all over the internet, and resources and books, many excellent sources for you to choose. But there are certain problems with these sources, and I've given in the related links below some of the sources. Some of them I would recommend, others I wouldn't recommend as much, but I give them for your own perusal. But what they do is, if you look at their view counts, you can see that the first video has hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of views. But then you look at the videos 20, 30, 40 episodes down, and it has like maybe 100 views. Because the manner that it's presented is, number one, unnatural. Number two, it's disjointed. So there's no consistency in how it's done. Number three, there is not an overload. There's not an abundance of vocabulary. It's just grammar rule after grammar rule. And number four, it's not complete. So you could have a series below, and I'm thinking of the Bayyina one and the Medina book one. And the Bayyina one, each lesson is 3 hours long. How many people are going to sit for 3 hours and listen and watch all of that? Very few people are going to do that. So it's also full of lots of irrelevant chat. And I understand the need to inspire children, because there's children learning, and there's it's a group situation. But this is not what the average YouTuber wants to acquire. They don't want to have to sit through a 3-hour lecture on how to learn basics of Arabic. What they need is the absolute basics presented to them with an abundance of vocabulary, taught in a grammar minimalistic style, and they want to be able to translate, read from the very first episode they watch, and then they can build upon that. So that's the problem. Even though there's a huge amount of resources and teachers and material, it's disjointed, it's long, and it's inconsistent. The next thing is the narrow outlook. So we had number one, how do children learn? Number two, how you learn to walk and talk. Grammar versus vocab. Number three, the prolixity of teachers. Number four, online resources, their timing, consistency and completeness. And number five, we have the narrow outlook. Some people want to come to learn Arabic language because they have a religious intent. So they think, I only want to learn how to understand the Qur'an or the Hadith maybe, or books of history. And other people may want to learn Arabic because they want to be able to order food at a Lebanese, Syrian, Moroccan restaurant. So when you limit yourself in your outlook, like you only want to learn secular Arabic or you only want to learn religious Arabic, this greatly limits you. So this series, I will give you both. In fact, my intent is to give you every single word in the Qur'an, and I'll show you the resource I use. And I'll also give you the top 1,000 secular words. So here is where I'm going to take my sources. Number one, for the Arabic words, I'm going to give you the book that is about 160 pages long, and it's written by an individual called John Penrice. And this book is an excellent book because it gives you every single Quranic word in the whole of the Qur'an, and it has very few mistakes. In fact, some of the mistakes in some editions are actually given at the back. So in order to obviate these mistakes and to minimize the mistakes as much as possible, what I will do is I will use this book. It's called A Dictionary and Glossary of the Qur'an, Copious Grammatical References and Explanation of the Text by John Penrice. I will couple that with another book, and that book is called Arabic English Dictionary of Quranic Usage by Sayyid M. Badawi and Muhammad Abdel Haleem. This is a very academic work, about 752 pages, published by Brill, which is an academic publisher, and it's quite modern, so it was published in 2008 in Leiden and Boston. So I will use this 750 page book coupled with that 160 page book in order to give you every single Quranic Arabic word. For the secular side, what I intend to give you is all the vocabulary, which is the top 1,000 vocabulary terms from this book, and it's part of a 2-part series. In fact, it's a 3-part series, but the third book isn't mentioned here. And it's called Arabic historical phraseology, a supplement to written Arabic by A.F.L. Beeston. And the unique thing about this book is the Arabic is actually given in handwritten form. So not only could you see and read the Arabic, you can actually practice the written aspect of the Arabic as well. So that's 3 books that I've given there. And A.F.L. Beeston's work, it states here, I'll just give you the screenshot. It states that it gives every single word that would be needed for a person who wants to study things like sociology, history, and politics. So it's modern standard Arabic, MSA. And the Quranic dictionary, the 2 dictionaries that I'm going to go through, it states here from Badawi and Abdel Haleem, Penrice's dictionary contains all words occurring in the text of the Qur'an. So by the end of this series, you will have had every single vocab element from the Qur'an, and you'll also have the top 1,000 words of MSA. This truly is complete Arabic. Stay tuned.